I'm very impressed and I'm pleased to see the pitch at least it looks like a pitch that's going to be played on this season rather than the mud last season, and clearly the ground has had a makeover. Are there any other plans to look to extend the capacity of the ground? Because I know for some years there's been talk about extending the stands upwards and filling in. Clearly that's when we're in the Premier League and doing well.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering whether there is any plans for the club to look to develop. I would hope the Premier League is our goal. And of course, the players at 27,000, we would struggle. Yeah. I think we did the last time to prepare the big club.
Can I start because of history?
I'm just wondering whether there are any plans.
Obviously, during my time, we thought about that a lot because we were in the Premier League for so long. And the decision we took was, when we have a waiting list for season tickets, for 2 or 3 years, we would consider doing it. Because I think from a commercial point of view, with 27,000 people when we were in the Premier League said, I have to buy a season ticket, otherwise I'm not going to guarantee getting in. The moment, until you build the inherent support bigger than that, we don't ever want to get to a point really where people say, you know what, I'll pick and choose my matches, I'll go and watch Man U and Liverpool, we want them to buy season tickets. Second point is, we did get planning permission, as you know, to extend the ground, and I think that could be reactivated. But another consideration why we wanted this waiting list is, to actually extend this ground is quite expensive. It's always more expensive to put another tier on a grandstand than starting from scratch. So all I would answer is, I think financially it would be a big commitment and we'd want to be sure that we were selling out before making that decision, really.
Yeah, I think we still have, our average last season was 16,000.
Yeah.
So I understand if you're in the Premier League, it's probably easily filled, well, let's hope, but obviously we're not there yet. And I think one of our biggest challenges for next year is, to get more people into the grounds and see if we maybe have a more stable club performing level on the pitch, how much crowds we can attract on a general basis, and obviously and then work from that, and then you can probably make, because last couple of years it has been 16, 18,000, which still leaves us with 10,000 people to go and look for. So for the moment there is no need, I would say, but hopefully maybe within a couple of years there is the need for it.
And just to finish your point about spending on the ground, I mean, everybody's seen it is a beautiful pitch. It's a very high quality pitch. But there's been money spent, I suppose you know, paint, new seats, new carpets throughout the lounges which needed doing. And I have to say that in the latter years I was here, and of course the years under Tony Jimenez and Michael, money wasn't spent on the ground. We didn't have any spare money, and our priority was always trying to get the odd player in. And I think it's a real, to me, a necessary thing that an owner has come along and actually said, you know what, we've got to spend some money on the place we play as well.
Well, I think when you come down the pitch and see a nice pristine stadium, it
feel good, don't you? Yeah, absolutely. Good.
It's how I try to convince players to sign. I bring them first to the Valley and let them see
more money.
I think we'd all agree it was a bit too close for comfort last season. But I think this year the league is even tougher because you've got clubs coming down from the Premier League with a lot of money. Doncaster and Barnsley and Yeovil, 3 of the smaller clubs have gone.
Yeah.
And I think the Championship is increasingly going to be more competitive. Clubs with a lot of financial resources. How confident are you that Charlton can compete in the short term and the long term with what we're up against?
Well, I think it was obviously not easy. After the season, we let go a lot of players. We managed by within half July, we already brought in 8 players. We'll see. We made the signings so far that we wanted to make. Our plan is to be competitive on the long run. As you can see, we gave some players 4 to 5 year contracts. And it's true that there are clubs with more money, but not all of those clubs are successful either. And we have a different approach, all the fans know that. But we think nevertheless we're very happy with the signings that we made, and I mean we're doing it with a budget which is still one of the lowest of the championship, and it will for us as well with so many new players. It will be interesting to see how good they gel, but we feel we strengthened already the positions that we were lacking last season, and we try to invest in those positions.
I think I'd agree with that. Have anybody been to Peterborough or Portsmouth? All right. I won't make up what I want. Okay, just wanted to say, as a fan now speaking, we played well. We played some lovely football now. We only got 2 goals on Saturday, although Jacko missed a penalty. But we played a style of football which was really, really exciting. And I think we've got 2 or 3 players, and again, talking as a fan, I'm talking about the centre forward. As I get older, I can't pronounce names, but if I call them Igor and Johan, you'll know the 2 I mean. I think they're really, really exciting players who are going to turn the fans on. And in a way, that's part of football. You want the kids to go and say, oh, he was great. And since we sold Jan last year, got to throw that in. We haven't got a hero, but I think there's a few in there who are going to become real heroes. Didn't really answer your question. I just believe, again, as a fan, I think we've got a better squad than last year. I think it's bigger in depth. The youngsters are all a year older. And where that will take us, how much better, you know, football you can never judge. But I think generally people should be confident that we can have a competitive side this year. Yeah. Glyn.
Hi. Can you elaborate on transfer policy and where that's going to go and how that fits into a plan to make Charlton Athletic successful, and what is success, both for you guys as the board and for the owner?
What we mostly our vision is for Charlton is if we see good young talent, we try to acquire them basically. It's a bit our philosophy, and give them a place in our club. Obviously, you cannot only do it with young, and we brought in some experienced players as well. So it will be a mix of that, and as well develop the training ground and the academy. So we have good young players coming through the academy, also acquiring talent, European talent, maybe somewhere from other countries than England, and that mixed with experience of championship, and that's how we think we can be successful in England here.
What is success?
Well,
how do you grade success? What is the 5-year plan, for example?
Well, I mean, there is always the holy grail, and everybody wants that, and we know that. I mean, we are no different than any other club. I mean, every club in Championship ever wants to be in Premier League, but I think for the owner now as well, it will be a very interesting season for him to see how far this squad can take us, basically, and then I think we will assess the situation. I think that's for us, because we had a fresh start now, and see how this squad can develop and what is needed more to go maybe up. But I mean, I want to be very careful with this, because it's such a difficult league, and we know that. So I don't feel comfortable here promising you that within 5 years we want to be in Premier League, because it's football. It's not.
I can't promise that.
And that's a bit, but obviously the ambition of every club is that. Huh?
More questions? A lady going to ask a question, come on.
Yeah.
Yes.
How comes we've got another new manager?
How come?
Because I thought Jose did really well last season. Yeah. He kept us up. Why did we get rid of him?
Because he wanted to go to Blackpool.
Look, I think the first thing is just to answer one question, then Katrien probably knows it more intimately than I do, but I think the point people have forgotten is, because people say, 2 managers have been sacked, in 6 months. Jose wasn't sacked. He was hired to do for 4 months. He was asked, could you do a job for us to get us to stay up?
7 weeks.
Or 7 weeks, sorry. Yeah, it wasn't in 4 months. He said, yes, I'd like to do it and I'd like to try it. No promises at the end of it, nothing else. Then at the end of it, he survived, and I think he did a good job and won over the fans with his style of football, and a very nice man as well. But you can remember, there was no commitment to him. We knew he could do the job. then it's the owner's job to interview the potential people and make his judgment on who'll be best for Charlton. And I'll just say one thing, I think Bob will win you over. He certainly won me over. I think he's a real live wire. He likes to play good football as well. You live or die by these decisions, you know. I mean, the owner wants us to be successful, and therefore he's made his best judgment.
I like to be successful, but it's like, I've been watching Charlton since I was 9 years old.
Yes.
And we've had some really good managers, and we've had some crap ones.
But you know
I'm
what?
thinking,
Is he a crap one or a good one? But you see, the biggest laugh of all is, and I take blame for this, when I appointed Alan Pardew, I got hundreds, more letters than I've ever had, more texts saying, well done Richard, you made the best choice, fantastic, didn't ever think we'd be able to tempt Pardew, da da da. You talk to people now and say, Pardew, worst manager we've ever had. So it's very difficult to know, are they good or bad? McLaren, you know, some people think he's the worst thing since Lashbury, other things, people, Derby think he's wonderful.
he's done him wrong, right, last season.
Yeah, but Wally with the brolly, you know, you remember? So they go up and down.
She didn't get where?
And so, no, I'm not looking. What I'm saying is you never quite know, but Jose did the job for us and he did a good job, but he wasn't fired. If he'd been offered, when he joined us, an 18-month contract, I'm sure the owner would have honoured it because he'd done his job. But you've got to realise, I will say this, Roland would probably shoot me, but Roland and I are getting on a bit. Roland's the owner now. And he hasn't got 20 years to make his mark. He's got a number of years. Who knows how many, but you know what I mean. So he would want to do over the next 5 years or whatever. And therefore, he's got to carefully pick who he believes will do the best job. He's not a prophet, so we don't know whether he'll get it right, but his intentions, I promise you, are good.
I said to him, because I explained, and I said, well, if we go with a new manager, I mean, obviously people will maybe not understand, and he explained that he worked with so many people for so many years, and he explained that we should trust him, and sometimes he might be wrong, and also in football for sure. But I mean, Bob hasn't started yet. There was also lots of criticism when Jose first came into the building. So I really hope that we will have the same outcome. So I mean, and that the owner is proven right, I guess. So it's also for me. But so far, I have been working with Bob quite closely, and I think we already had some successes with all the signings getting so early done. And now it's up to him, obviously, to give you all an answer what you deserve on the pitch. And I mean, I hope it starts next Saturday in Brentford.
Yeah, gentleman in the corner.
Sorry, you mentioned Bob Peters and that he won you over. So what was your sort of checklist?
No, didn't win me over. He's won me over now,
well,
having worked with him, but I was not involved in the interview process. No.
When he's sitting the opposite side of the table, what was your checklist of the attributes you were looking for? How did he win you over? And when you said, he likes to play good football, what does good football look like? What does that
well, when I say football on the grass, I mean,
on the new pitch.
One of the reasons he was very keen that we had a new pitch. That's the way he wants to play. Other managers quite happy with, knock it up to the big man up front. That is not Bob's style, and you will notice that our key centre forward is well under 6 foot, although he's got quite a good leap for an average sized man. So I think he likes to play good football. Second thing I've noticed is he's a motivational sort of guy. He really is. He's quite large in life, very energetic, and seems to have just that balance of banter with the players, but they know who's boss, and that's a fine line. We've had a number of those. To be fair, I think Chris was very good at man management as well, but I think this guy is.
And he's very tough, like he's always on my back, where are my players, where are my players?
Well, like that.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Any new signings in the pipeline?
In general, we don't communicate about transfers because it can jeopardize, obviously, if we're in competition with other clubs or so. I think for the moment we're quite happy with the squad, but we still look for talent, and if we find players that are available. There are, for I think, 2 positions which we think can use some strength, and we're looking at those players. But we still have a month now, which is a very comfortable position. We have some people targeted, but I mean, I cannot promise you that there will be no players, because it's a difficult game, especially if, as we are progressing towards the deadline. It means more clubs are throwing more money and the pressure is on, so we'll see where we end, but we know. And if not, we still have the loan system, but I want to reduce as much as possible the loan system because it's also for the owner. It makes sense to invest players that are your own. So.
You mentioned the progression of the younger players throughout the squad. Is that the idea why sort of we're investing in players from standard age and further abroad to encourage the youngsters to come on? Because we are sort of, I noticed over the summer we are getting a bit of like foreign intake now, rather than sort of progressing through the squad that we can't.
I think we have lots of players from the academy in the current team.
Yeah, well, one academy, but I think just your point, yes, we're going to have more foreign players than we have in the past, that's for sure. And the reason is that we now have a scouting system through the network whereby we have access to people we hadn't even heard of before. And I think that's good, because Premiership clubs all have that advantage. So we have it. Number 2, I think you're saying all these players coming from Standard Liège. It's interesting, our 2 probably biggest signings this year haven't come from there. Igor and Johan, first name terms again. They were from outside, so that's quite interesting. Bruins, who I think you're like, our central midfielder, the same haircut as me. He's going to be a crowd favourite. We've got him on a wonderful... For some reason, there was something, won't go into it, but something not too important happened at Standard Liège, whereby he became available. Normally, that quality of player, I don't think would have just been given by Standard Liège, so that's a real bonus. But I think in general you have a good argument. We took in a lot of players, some were good enough, some weren't, and they all came from Standard Liège. But that's because it was needs must. That was the only source where we had any influence. So I think this summer we really picked who you wanted to pick.
Yeah, and we had a good balance, and I think I foresee that as well in the future. I mean, having a good balance between, because it's an opportunity for me. It's an opportunity to have access to players where you can get deals easily done, because it's the same family, but also have the mix of the likes like Igor and Johan. And sometimes, I mean, also financially, we cannot always afford the players that we bring in, and that gives us a good balance, and that means that we can invest more in Igor and the likes of Johan and other players.
I think what should be encouraging, I must say this because Roland's not here and it's easier for me. As an owner of
I will have to report back.
Absolutely. No message for us here. But Roland owns 6 clubs. All 6 clubs have got passionate fans. You know, some bigger quantity than others, but they've all got passionate fans, and they all want the owner to do best for them. So that puts him politically, or in a very difficult position. Anything he says is going to be analysed. Standard Liège's favourite team, or Charlton's favourite team. Blah, blah, blah. So you're not going to get answers from him, quite rightly, because he'll get slaughtered at the other 5 clubs. Yeah. But let just me say one thing. The opportunities for Charlton Athletic are probably bigger than for any of these other 6 clubs. And that's just because of the league system we work within, that there is the Premier League up there. And that gives me a lot of confidence that we are always going to be pretty high on his priority list for being looked after, because just the rewards are bigger, and any sensible person would see that.
And otherwise it's our job to remind him to look after.
Yeah, we will remind him if not. That's an interesting
That's in there.
What's that Meire said? Good.
Yeah.
Right. Apart from the playing side of things, what plans have you got for getting the crowds back in? Because even when we go through periods of playing quite well, like at the beginning of last season, we were playing okay. We wasn't scoring goals, but we were playing okay. But we're not getting the crowds in. And
No, it's
without that, you're not you're not bringing in the income anyway to the club.
It's what I analysed a bit the figures, and what I saw of the last couple of years, that we have a maximum of 18,000 average, even though you play well or you played well in League One and in Championship. So it's a challenge, I admit, but I mean, where we foresee the future is to become a family club. So we'll try to really try to get families in with young kids into the ground and provide them a good environment and a nice environment to come to the football. I think that's a bit where our future lays as well, is trying to get, and there we will work together with the trust as well, because they reach out to so many young people, and they already offer such a good environment for young people to spend their free time. And I think with the trust we will work together to bring on also those kids into the Charlton ground and make them Charlton fans, basically.
Yeah, they used to have a thing where we either did kids for £1, or I think we used to sit in the East Stand, and when there were empty seats, they used to give the tickets to the local schools. Now, the last couple of years, I haven't noticed.
Yeah, but there is a balance there to be made, because then you devaluate the ticket season holders as well.
But you're not doing it all the time.
No.
For certain matches.
That encourages.
We are going to have certain special events.
To get them to
No, I know, but it's we cannot do it all the time, because we don't want.
Yeah, I understand.
But there is, I mean, we went through a restructure after the season, which was not nice, but one of the positions that we hired was club development, and a position, a lady that will really try to bring more people or young people into the grounds, actually.
I mean, it's a very good question, but I think something which should be acknowledged, and I'll do it because Katrien was the person who really pushed the owner on this. She managed to get us to reduce our income, in effect, by reducing season ticket prices, whereby, I don't know if anybody's aware, I think we're now the cheapest club in London, and that includes Brentford, Leyton Orient.
I know.
You know.
How many extra season tickets?
Well, a few more, but first got to make it cheaper. Then you've got to try and play good football on the pitch.
I know.
After that, you've got a slight problem, because one of the problems we have in this world, as everybody knows, is, you know, we've become a celebrity culture where it's, oh, who just built, Man U or Man City? You know, it's all got to be a success, and we're fighting against that.
Yeah, and maybe there is still some skepticism about the ownership, and that's, I mean, why I want to do these events, because I want to explain, basically, because I've been trying to figure out why didn't we sell yet all the season tickets that we sold last year, although I think we have exciting things going on. So I still try to, convince people to get a season ticket, but probably it will have to wait until we start playing to a certain extent.
Win the first 6 matches.
Yeah, you're right.
No pressure.
And talking about the scepticism of the owner, the sort of feedback I get from talking to fans and fans give to me is around, you know, team selection, both in terms of who plays match by match and all that. Now, I have my own opinions in things like that with the experience I've got with working football and knowing Richard. Can you explain to the fans exactly what's gone on in the past and what is the future? You know, one of the things that British fans is they like a manager to pick the team. They don't understand necessarily that head coach is a manager in terminology. Can you explain exactly what's going on with regards to who's choosing the players we're signing, who's choosing the players match by match, and what influence the owner can have over that?
Okay, I will give you an insight. No, how we select players is, I think we have a scout here in England who scouts the best players available. Phil Chappell.
Yeah.
He's I work with him very closely, so he selects players which he thinks are good for the club, based on quality, budget, and because we need to have an idea of the budget. And then we get a double check by other scouts from the network. And if that's a yes and a yes, we go for the player, but it doesn't always work out. And it's the same way around. Sometimes our scouts from the network, they see good players. We have them checked by Phil Chappell. If it's a yes, we try to go and get for the player. So that's actually, obviously, the manager also has a say in it. So we always double check. It needs to be a yes of the 2 scouts. then we go to the manager, you say, look, this is a player that we spotted, do you like him, do you see him in our team? Because sometimes we see so many talent, and then, I mean, we cannot take it because the manager likes to play a certain way, and it doesn't fit. We had it this summer. I mean, we were wanting to go for one of the players, and it doesn't fit in Bob's system. So then, I mean, we have to adapt our strategy. So if that's all done, then it's up to me to start the negotiation, and I negotiate the players, and sometimes they're successful and sometimes they're not. And for picking the team, it's the owner is not involved. But the only thing that he has a say in, and it's quite rightly, is if we go for a player, a transfer of a player, and there is really big money involved, obviously he needs to have a say in it. But that's it. That's it.
And I think, just to remove a myth, because I don't know who created it, but it developed its own steam about Roland picking the team for Chris and Chris not being happy, therefore walking out. That was not the case, I can tell you. What the owner did do, and maybe this did upset Chris, who knows, he did Chris would come back and say, yeah, we've lost again, or whatever. He said, I need replacements. Roland would say, yeah, but what about these guys I've sent over? They're not bad. Why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? So, but anybody would question that. If you're picking up the wages and you've sent them over, whether they're good enough or not, you are going to ask. If Chris had been winning all those matches, it would have helped his argument to say, not good enough with me, I'm happy with my existing team. But he was really ringing up saying, I need reinforcements. We got reinforcements, probably not good enough, I accept that. And then Roland, of course, says, you lost again, you didn't pick my reinforcements, what's wrong with them? So it was that sort of questioning which I think, if you're winning, you can be robust in your answer. If you're losing, it becomes difficult. So I'm not saying Chris's life was easy, but Roland was not picking the team. He was questioning afterwards, why didn't we win? Which all of us do. Sorry, next one.
What plan is in action for the younger players? I mean, we've lost Poirier to West Ham over the years. We've lost Parker, we went to Chelsea with Jenkinson. And for next to no money.
I've got to take back some of that. Parker, everybody in football says, we did the most amazing deal ever. We got £10 million at the time for a guy who said he didn't want to play for us again, and in fact had said to Kirkchley, I'm not even turning up at the training pitch. So when you're given that the guy's gone on strike, to get still 10 million, I think you should be saying, well done. The only guy I can think, Jenkinson, got £1.5 million, plus there's more add-ons and we get sold again. Fantastic for a guy who only played, I think, 6 games for us. Where you are absolutely right is on Poirier. Poirier is a good player. He had not signed a long-term contract with us, so we're still going to get a fee, and we're going to get a share of a transfer fee as and when he decides West Ham are not the right club for passing football. So we can do that, but to be fair, if you're going to be critical, you've got to say the previous ownership should have spotted that Poirier is a rare talent, sign him up. The great thing about Katrien and her team is they've seen all of our youngsters, and I think they're all signed up. Gomez, of course, only has 2 years. We'd like it to be longer, but that's something which is being looked at. But generally, all of our youngsters are tied up on long-term contracts, I believe. Is that not true?
Well, we tried to tie them in as long as possible. So, I mean, I was obviously not happy with the Poyet situation, but it was very clear that he was not going to sign. I mean, we tried our best, but I mean, it's unfortunate, but I mean, I will do now, or we will try to do now, to prevent that basically, and also I think it will help. I mean, if we were a more stable club at the time as well, maybe we could convince Diego to stay, although I think his mind has always been somewhere else. Well, obviously I'm not speaking for him, but I just think from what I saw, but it will be my next big thing is to get to really the key young players that we already identified in the club, to get them on long enough contracts so we don't have the same situation as Diego. I mean, with some of it will work. With some of them, they already know that they're quite good and they calculate, okay, by that time I'm a free agent, so I can do the big move without the club having to pay a fee. But I mean, I will try to convince them of the Charlton story, and and say that they have the perfect platform here. And and hopefully it will work with most of them. We know the players that we want to keep, But yeah, we need to convince the parents, the agents involved, the players themselves. But I think and that's the best argument that we had last year. We played so many academy players, and
Absolutely.
if we keep continuing to do that, they know they have a shot with us. And then if we then have to sell them, because I don't want to be the person that prohibits a young player from progressing his career, and that's what I keep telling the players. I told the same to Diego. Said even if you resign with us, then there is a point that Charlton is too small for you. I will not be the one that will stop you, because it's only fair to young players. They only have one shot. But yeah, he chose differently. So.